Nick Barris here, along with Josh Horn from Social Security. We are taking your phone calls on MorningLine, 737-7587. Number's up there over the screen, so if you want to join us, we got some lines open. Josh, we got some calls waiting through the break. Let's start. Our first call of the morning is going to Teresa. Good morning, Teresa. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Nick and Josh.
Hello.
I have a question this morning. I draw my Social Security, and I have just taken immediate custody of my granddaughter, and I have full custody of her now. Can I get an increase in my Social Security because I have a dependent now?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Unfortunately, there's very few circumstances where a grandparent or a child rather can draw off of a grandparent's record, which is what you'd be looking at in this situation. One situation if you adopted the child. The other situation is if both parents were deceased or disabled. And so if they fall in one of those categories, then we can look at some child benefits off of your record. And unfortunately, it doesn't sound like this is the circumstance you're looking at.
Now, did you say if the child was disabled or if I was disabled?
The child could draw off of your record if both parents were disabled or both parents were deceased.
Okay, but I can't get an increase just because I have a dependent.
Correct.
Okay. That was very helpful.
Yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
for your call. I see why she's asking that question, you know. But
well, we do. We have a lot of grandparents who in a lot of situations similar, and we have a lot of folks coming in, so it's a very good question, and I'm sure there's other viewers out there who would benefit from it too, because you know, if you take somebody into your custody and like she said, as a dependent of yours, you'd think maybe you could they would get some of your benefits or that you could get an increase, but unfortunately it's not the case. Yep.
All right, let's go next to next call is James. Good morning, James.
Yes. Good
Hi.
morning. I have an extra house that my daughter has been living in, and if she's wanting to move out, so I have two options: to rent it or to sell it. If I rent it, will that affect my Social Security disability check because I'm considered legally blind? And if I sell the house, will that affect my Social Security?
Yeah, those are some really good questions, and you know, if you have a rental house situation, I mean that is considered income, and so it would definitely, if you have SSI disability, that would definitely affect that. Now it sounds like you have Social Security disability, and so with Social Security disability, we're worried more about the work and earnings, and in your circumstance, you'd really want to talk to a claims specialist who can talk to you a little bit about the specific rules on rental property and how much work you'd be putting and how many hours, because you know there's some circumstances where you may only have to put a couple of hours of work into it a month to maintain the rental situation, but you know, if you're out there doing the maintenance or doing the lawn mowing and some things like that, then that may be a totally different scenario. So rental property actually can get kind of tricky whenever you're looking at when you're drawing disability benefits, because it could be considered a type of work situation, and you'd actually have to have a claim specialist look into it and may even get a work report on you just to document it, so that if you're under the limits, at least it's documented and we don't have to worry about any kind of overpayment situation.
All right, what if I sell the house?
If you sell the house and you're drawing Social Security disability, that's fine, because Social Security doesn't care about any kind of income like that. But if you're drawing SSI disability benefits, then that could affect it, because then you'd have a large sum of money that you would have in your bank account that you would need to spend down at a relatively quick pace.
So you're getting you're not getting SSI, you're getting Social Security disability, right?
Yeah, I'm legally blind, and I've been drawing it for about 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather be working. I'm still young, but
sure,
we can't help what happens to us in our life.
No, you're right. You're right.
So if you sell the house, if you sell the house, it'd be just like selling a car or selling anything else. It would affect it.
Okay.
Hope that helps, James. Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We've got some lines open, 737-7587. Just at this moment, I like to do this periodically for viewers who maybe are scratching their heads and saying, Again, what's the difference between SSI and Social Security disability, which he's on? Because there are different criteria for each, but they both think, well, they're both disability, right?
Right.
Explain the difference to folks just so they know.
Right, and so at the Social Security Administration, we administer 2 different disability programs, and they both have the same disability criteria. So when you apply for either one of these programs, we send it over to the disability office. They get a hold of your medical records. They look at the disability listing codes and see if you meet one of those listing codes based on your medical documentation. So it's the same process for deciding if you're disabled. What's different about the 2 programs is what we call the non-medical factors. With Social Security, it has to do with Social Security disability, it has to do with what you've worked and paid into through your taxes and through what's taken out of your paycheck. So if you've worked 5 out of the last 10 years, then you typically qualify for Social Security for the non-medical part of it.
This would be a person maybe like this individual here who worked for a period of time and then all of a sudden suffered some kind of condition, bad back, going blind, whatever, and can no longer work, but had worked and paid into the system.
Exactly.
And so based on that, having had paid into it, then that's kind of a little insurance for you back there, I guess.
It's exactly. It's basically an insurance program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, and then that's why you said it doesn't really matter if he has that and sells his house, because the bottom line is he can't go back to work and keep drawing on it. But if you sell a house, that's not from work. You're selling a property. It doesn't affect you. Whereas SSI, it could be someone who maybe is born with a condition and is never able to work, meaning that they have never had an income or never paid into Social Security.
Yeah, SSI is actually out of the general tax fund. So we hear about the trust funds, the Social Security Trust Fund, which is what you're paying into. And what the Social Security program is paid out of. But SSI actually comes out of the general taxes, and it's a needs-based program. It's a program where it doesn't matter if and how much you've worked. It doesn't matter because we have children that draw it as disabled children. For example, a spouse maybe who had stayed home to take care of children and not ever really had any significant income and then becomes disabled could possibly draw SSI benefits. And it's really just to keep people in theory above the poverty line. We're just barely, I mean, it's not much, but it's just enough to keep maybe some food on the table.
It is truly a safety net, but that, because it's coming out of the general fund and you've never paid in, you're real sticklers on any earnings or any income, whether it's earnings or someone gives you cash, that affects your SSI.
Income and resources directly affect your SSI, and so exactly.
All right, let's go next to, I believe, on line 3, Lisi. Hi, Lisi.
Hi.
Hey, how can we help you?
I wanted to ask a question. I'm in my mid to upper 90s, and I sold my home place about 2 years ago, and it cut my Social Security down. I was getting around $1,200, and now it's over $800. And will that go back to the regular price? I have the money in savings, but I'm disabled. I'm old. I couldn't work anyway because of my age.
Okay, so you're saying you sold your property and your Social Security check went down?
Yes,
Why would that happen? She can do whatever she wants at 90.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your particular circumstance is. Whenever you're over your full retirement age, which for the folks that are retiring this year would be about 66 years old. So anything above that, we don't care how much you work. And of course, if you sell property or I mean, it doesn't affect your Social Security after that.
I sold my home place about 2 years ago, and then after a few months, my Social Security, I was drawing a little over $1,200, and it went down to something over $800, and it's been going on now for about a year and a half at that figure.
Did you ask him why?
No, I have not talked to anybody about it.
Did you make any changes to your Medicare? Because a lot.
No, I haven't made any other changes whatsoever. I live alone and do the best I can. My daughter and son keep groceries brought to me and things like that. I'm not able to do even my housework. I do have someone that does that for me about every 1 month or so. And
What other reason could there be for that to happen?
Yeah, I mean, the only reasons at this point, and from what you've described to me, why your benefits would go down is either a change in your Medicare, or if there's some kind of overpayment on the record that you're having to pay back. That's just for what I can say off without looking at your record. And so, really what we need to do is have you, get a hold of the Social Security office. Let us take a look at your specific check, and we can look at the payments and the payment history and see, what's being deducted or what's been taken out of, and we can, more fully answer your question.
Well, Lisi at 90 had the guts to call in and tell her story. So Lisi, I'm going to put you on hold, and we're going to get your number. And then Josh is going to check it out.
We'll take a look at that.
Do you mind doing that?
No, absolutely, because we want to, that's a, $400. Something's going on there. We want to make sure.
I have my money in savings that I got from my property. It was my home place.
Okay.
And so I just.
Sure.
Because I thought it would go back up, but it has not done it yet.
Fair enough, ma'am. Well, listen, we'll put you on hold, okay? I just put you on hold. And Lisi, maybe
we'll get to the bottom of it. There's something's going on there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, there may be a good explanation for it. Maybe there was an overpayment and they're drawing and it'll go back up, or who knows?
Yeah.
There's usually a reason. With all the numbers you guys deal with, occasionally clerical mistakes happen.
And that is true. I mean, occasionally, things like that, and that's why we're available in person, over the phone, and online. Because if you have any questions about, especially like this, where your check has gone down, number one, we're always supposed to send a letter. Now, sometimes you have trouble understanding the letter too, and so you can always give us a call. We can try to find that out for you.
Okay, Josh, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go. I think the next caller actually had a question along those lines, maybe as well, to follow up. Hi, Pauline. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a rental house, and I sold it, and my Social Security went down $300 per month.
Okay. And you were full retired? How old are you?
I'm now 82.
Okay, and so you were getting a certain amount of money, and when you sold the house, all of a sudden, right after you sold it, your Social Security went down.
$300 per month. They only did that for 1 year.
Okay, and so here's the explanation. It may go back to what Lisi said too. Again, I mentioned one of the things that really affects Social Security is your Medicare, and they came out a few years ago with the Medicare, the Income-Related Medicare Adjustment Act. And basically, it says that if you have a higher income, that you're going to have to pay more of your share of the Medicare. And so, what happens is, if you sell a property, then I believe it's the next year when they recalculate everything and they see that your adjusted gross income for that year had a big jump. Then they actually take out more out of your check for the Medicare. And so that that's something that a lot of folks are seeing more and more, but especially in circumstances like that. And it's only 1 year where you have to pay more. Now I still want to take a look at Lisi's because
seems like a larger amount of money.
But it can be $200 to $300 more per month, and she can call in too and have somebody take a look and see if it's she said it was just the 1 year. And so if it's gone back up, then I can pretty much definitely tell you that it's the Medicare adjustment, the Income Related Medicare Adjustment Act, and that's hitting a lot of folks. And we get a lot of phone calls, especially in January and February. We get a lot of phone calls where people are hit with that. We take a look. If it's if you have a life-changing event like retirement, that's the main one, or some other kind of life-changing event where we can take a look and maybe make a different decision. But most of the time, when you sell property, or you sell a business, or you have a really good year with your business, or whatever else, and your income spikes up real high, you're hit with that income adjustment for that Medicare adjustment for at least a year.
Gotcha. All right, I think that probably explains it, but appreciate you checking it out. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your phone call, 737-7587. Josh is on until 9 o'clock. So if you have a question about Social Security, we can help solve where you stand in the process. Give us a call. We'll be back with more right after this.